there's this sense in the media that the be-all, end-all of life is to find happiness. And that was my own perspective as well at that time. But reading this research, I learned that this pursuit of happiness that is so encouraged can actually backfire. So we now know from decades of research that people who pursue happiness and value it the way that our culture encourages us to do actually end up feeling unhappy and lonely. So that's something that really captured my attention. But the other thing that really got me was this. So if you take the long view of history, it's never been a better time to be alive. There are more people in the world who enjoy basic human rights. Fewer people die from disease, and far less violence in the world. Every year, millions of people are lifted out of poverty. So by all of these objective standards, the world is getting better. And yet, at the same time, more people feel hopeless, depressed, and alone. There's this emptiness that's gnawing away at people. Nearly every single indicator of mental illness, of suffering that you can think of, depression, anxiety, loneliness, suicide, self-harm, all of these have been rising in the United States and across the world in recent decades. And during COVID, the line was like this, during COVID, it just accelerated. And the problems are particularly acute among our children and young adults, but really through all stages of life. And what this research found that I came across was that this growing sense of despair that people are feeling is not predicted by a lack of happiness in people's lives, but by a lack of meaning. And this was interesting to me because I think, if you just think on the face value of it, okay, I'm not feeling well, someone I love isn't feeling well, let's do something to make ourselves happy, to make them happy, and that'll solve the problem. But actually what this research suggests is that happiness doesn't go deep enough. We need something deeper, that meaning can stay with us. So I'm using these terms happiness and meaning. Let me take a second to define them more clearly. Happiness, the way it's defined in the research and our broader culture, is a positive mental and emotional state. If you feel good, you're happy. If you feel bad, you're unhappy. And it comes and goes. It's fleeting, like all emotions. Meaning, though, is bigger. So the defining feature of living a meaningful life, according to psychologists and philosophers, is connecting and contributing to something beyond yourself. And in the research, when people say that their lives are meaningful, it's generally because three conditions have been satisfied. The first is they believe their lives matter in some way, that there's significance to their lives. The second is they believe their lives are driven by a sense of purpose, that why that Frankl writes about. And then finally, they believe that their lives are coherent. So things come together and make sense. Their experiences aren't just kind of a random assemblage of raw data. And over the last 2 decades, there's been a burgeoning subfield within psychology that's been studying meaning, and the findings have been really powerful and provoking. So it turns out that people who, some people, going back to this distinction between happiness and meaning, you can certainly have both in your life. What I found was that there's some people who are more driven by the search for happiness, the pursuit of happiness, and some people more oriented towards the search for meaning, the pursuit of meaning. And what this research showed was that people who are more focused on leading a meaningful life than on chasing happiness tend to be more resilient in the face of suffering, as Frankl found. If they're students, they do better in school. If they are professionals in the workforce, they're more productive and more satisfied with their work. In their retirement years, when so many people struggle with kind of existential concerns, they experience greater well-being. And at the end of life, when they're facing the prospect that life comes to an end, they're far more at peace with the fact that they'll die.